Now he's focused on Democratic wins in the midterm elections as co-chair of American Bridge 21st Century. Welcome now to Bloomberg. So, Governor, thank you so much for joining us here. Great to have you with us. Give us a sense of if the president got everything he wants. I'm not saying he will, but if he did, what would it mean for people in Montana?
Well, look, I mean, we have a real opportunity to create millions of jobs, rebuild infrastructure that we're living off of our grandparents' infrastructure right now, and position the U.S. to really be competitive, not only with China, but around the world. And in rural areas, things like, 35% of rural Americans don't have access to reliable broadband. Or if you lose your water system, you've lost that community and the ratepayers can't always pay it. So this really does provide, in so many areas, opportunity to create good jobs, invest in rural areas like we need to be doing, and positioning all Montanans and all Americans in a better place to really be competitive in this economy.
Again, if the president got his wish, would those jobs show up before 2022, just to pick a date at random where there happens to be a midterm election?
Well, I think that as you start to make those investments, look, it's going to take a little while. And, if you go back, we're investing about 40% less in infrastructure at the federal level today than we were in the 1960s. So the need is really there. Will it all materialize by 2022? Not necessarily, but those investments today are going to impact not only 2022, but rural areas all across our country for literally generations to come.
When we talk about jobs in Montana, it looks like you got a shortage of workers. I mean, you have a successor, a Republican governor of Montana, who's now offering, I guess I would call it a bounty, where he's going to pay people $1,200 to take a job. He apparently is concerned about unemployment benefits being too rich. Does that need to happen in Montana?
Look, what may work for Montana may not necessarily be the same as every place in the country, but our unemployment rate is 3.8% right now. Before the pandemic, my biggest challenge, it wasn't taxes, it wasn't regulations, it was making sure that you had talented and trained workers to fill all the jobs that we have. So in part also, I think, because of the rescue plan and all it's done, we are positioned in a good place to actually move forward along the way. And I think that that's what part of what the jobs plan that President Biden has put out, I doubled the number of apprenticeships, work-based learning while I was governor. The idea of doing 2 million more so folks can actually make a decent living while they're getting the skills employers need is something that we really need to be focusing on. And that's why I'm also excited that that's what President Biden's plan is doing.
So the plans certainly hold up a lot of hope for a lot of people for good things to come their way. At the same time, I don't think you can deny that this is big government. There's just no two ways about it. I'm old enough, you're younger, but I'm old enough to remember back in the Reagan era when it was thought that the government was the problem, not the solution. How do Montana residents really regard this and voters regard this? Are they at all suspicious of how big the government is getting in Washington?
Well, I think that's what we need to be having a talk about. And we really need to talk about, I think of my first legislative session, a town called Glendive, Montana. They needed significant water upgrades. They couldn't pay for it all themselves. The idea that the federal government should actually be investing more in our highways and our bridges or rural connectivity. The internet right now is basically, and COVID really demonstrated that for us, both from an educational perspective, from a healthcare perspective, from a commercial perspective. We shouldn't have these disparities, urban and rural, or larger investments that this talks about. Probably the most antiquated piece of machinery that's been cobbled together in the Western states is the electrical grid. Upgrades to that are going to be necessary for a long term. So I think that really once folks really dig into what this can offer, it can make a meaningful difference in not only the support, but in their lives.
You raise a really interesting possibility, which is that the pandemic itself may have shifted attitudes of people toward big government, maybe even in Montana. That is to say, we realize we need a big government that will work with the private sector to come up with things like vaccines and then, of course, to get it distributed. Do you see a shift in the country?
Well, I think the shift that we see is that we need the federal government to be a constructive role and partner. I think of my 8 years as governor, finally we got near the end, the largest infrastructure package through actually in our state's history. But the needs were much, much greater. And even 4 years before, there was a lot of discussion about the needs to be invested in infrastructure, but there wasn't actually the follow through. So I do think that Americans and Montanans are ready to see these kind of investments because they know not only the job creation factors, but what it'll set places like this up for the future.
Should we be paying for it through more taxes? Should we be borrowing more money, or should we just not be doing it at all?
Well, I think, look, the need is certainly there. And if we're going to be competitive around the world, we need to be making investments. And look, I've always, I had to balance my budget as a governor. And I did it every single year for 8 years. And last 4 years, they sure didn't seem to care much about what the deficit was happening as they did the tax cuts. I think making sure that companies are paying their fair share and incentivizing them to bring jobs back. So the idea of increasing the taxes, like the corporate tax rate at 21%, I think is the lowest of the 35 most industrialized countries in the world. So taking some of these steps makes sense.
Do you have a lot of big ranchers out there that might be nervous about the capital gains issue and passing it on to their offspring?
Well, I think you're at the start of what an overall program will be, but I think it's not only, it's not only ranchers, it's others that are turning around and saying, how do we make sure that folks are paying their fair share? And I think that right now they're not.
Okay, great to have you with us. Thank you so much. That's former Governor Steve Bullock.